So I'm talking to my pal Sean over at Zero Fidelity. You got to check out, if you haven't seen his channel, I'll link to it below. Great guy, makes amazing videos. So anyway, Sean and I are talking. We have these every few weeks or so. We have these chats, and we stumbled upon brand loyalty, fan something like certain brands inspire this intense loyalty that can sometimes go on for decades. So I guess the prime example of that is McIntosh. You know, McIntosh goes back to the 40s. There are customers of McIntosh that just keep adding to their Macintosh collection. They don't sell the old one when they get the new one. They just keep buying them. You know, not everybody from the 40s, but, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're still in the club, and they have this fierce loyalty to the brand. Macintosh definitely inspires that, possibly because of their fantastic customer service, or so I've heard. I've never owned one, but it's that kind of company. And having a long history, I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with having customers that stick around for the long haul, as opposed to more flighty audiophile types that jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Now there are these companies, and the other one that's near the head of the class there is Klipsch. You know, when I started writing about, I've written about Klipsch for decades, but recently, a couple of years ago, I wrote about the little Klipsch RP51M, and that led to many more Klipsch reviews. And I can see in the comments that the Klipsch owners just, they come out. They come out and they support, and they're really into it, and they just have this level of love, passion, support that other companies that are successful companies don't seem to engender that in the people that buy their products. You know, Wilson is a terrific high-end company. I've loved many Wilson speakers. I've never owned one, but they don't have that kind of fan base. Maybe that's what I'm searching for. They don't have that kind of thing that happens with these other companies. So I remember when I started selling audio in the 70s, Linn, at that point, especially for its Linn LP12 turntable, had that kind of cult. Yeah, it was a cult. It was a cult thing to be in the Linn cult, Linn name cult at times. Linn and name at that point, before they parted, had sort of a connection there, that you'd use Linn turntable with name electronics. This was before Linn made electronics. And but Linn, I thought, I was so impressed with Linn in those days because they kept coming up with updates to their turntable that weren't just updates. They really made significant changes, and those changes were always backwards compatible with earlier LP12s, and it was fantastic. And I was a Linn owner. I've owned at least 2, maybe 3 Linns. And I was in on that that fan base. I was a huge supporter. I sold lots of Linns, and as I said, I've owned a few. So I got that. Now, talking about that period though, because I don't think Linn is that way anymore. I mean, Linn has really fallen off the radar in terms of the audiophiles of the world. I'm sure Linn is out there. They're still a very successful company. Who's buying them? I have no idea. Haven't seen too many reviews of Linn products. Yeah, they've fallen off the favorable list. I don't know why exactly. Maybe that they don't really support their own turntable anymore. I don't mean support like having parts, but I mean they barely acknowledge they make turntables, even though that's what the whole company is founded on. It strikes me as weird, though they still make the LP12. Much, 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 much more expensive than they used to be, but maybe a much, much better table. I don't know. Then there's Magnepan. Now, Magnepan, you know, I come to Magnepan late. Maybe the first one I reviewed and owned for a while was a 1.6, MG 1.6. And as soon as I spent time with that speaker, I got it. Oh man, did I get it. I was in feet first with Magnepan. And there's such I wouldn't use this word with any other high-end speaker company, but they're humble. They're a very humble company. They strike me that way. Because where other companies would have a successful product, other high-end companies would have a successful product, and they would make the reference version or the signature version with better caps and silver wire and blah, 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 and hike up the price. That's not a Maggie thing. They put their work into designing the product. It goes out there, and that's it. That's what it is. You want to change the crossover parts? Go right ahead. But they're not going to do that for their customers. They're like, we made it sound the way we want it to sound. If you want to change it, go right ahead. And that restraint about not capitalizing and, hey, we're going to make one with a rigid frame and charge an extra $4,000. They just don't do that. It would have been so easy for them to make subwoofers and sell match subwoofers to Magnepans and by the boatload, because they say, oh, Magnepans needs. You want to add a sub, not our thing. So that's what I mean by a humble company. And their prices by high-end standards are ridiculously low. I mean, the LRS that I rave reviewed recently is $650 for a full-range ribbon speaker made in the United States. Freaking fantastic. Not just a great price, but a truly astonishing speaker for the money. So that's the reasons why I could see that they have established this kind of very loyal group of customers. Then there's VPI. Now, VPI, God, they go way back. I know Harry Weisfeld, the founder of, before there was a VPI, I knew Harry. We were in an audio club together. I think it was called the Gotham Audio Society, a New York Audio Society. We were both members. Actually, he was the president. I was the vice president. He was president. This is in late 70s. And anyway, he went on to start VPI. They made record cleaning machines and all sorts of stuff, but they're really a turntable company, and they've been doing just fine. But when they brought out the VPI Classic, I don't know, 12 years ago or something like that, that turntable just took off, changed the course of VPI, and they made the Classic 2 and the Classic 3, and now they have all kinds of models. They don't actually make the Classic anymore, as far as I know, but that really shook it up. And I would say, certainly here from a New York perspective, VPI dominates the sales of high-end turntables. Let's say turntables over $1,500. They're just, there's lots of them out there. I mean, everywhere I turn, there's a VPI in somebody's system. I can't even think of who's in second place in higher-end turntables. So VPI has a lot of lovers out there. A lot of people they're loving their VPIs. So when I was talking to Sean, he threw in Buchardt. There's a small Danish company. They have two models, the S300, the S400, and I reviewed the S300. I really liked it, and they have a kind of a new cult following. That there's a lot of passion behind, a lot of reviews. Look all over YouTube; you'll see plenty of reviews of Buchardt speakers, and it's a new young company with only two models, and they've developed quite a very, very serious fan base. And the only other one I could think of about this isn't so much a specific manufacturer, but the LS35A. Now, the LS35A monitor speaker, I shouldn't call it monitor because it actually was designed as a BBC monitor speaker, a real, true monitor speaker, in the 70s, and then found great popularity with consumer audiophiles. This was when that was a more common thing, this crossover from pro to consumer. Like way before that, the JBL L100, there was the pro model, the 4311, which was the same speaker, but hugely popular with audiophiles in the early 70s, and popular as a studio monitor. But we can discuss that another time, the popularity of true studio monitors with audiophiles, which today is pretty small part of the pie. But the LS35A, which I have owned, Rogers LS35As, many companies license that design spec, and the one that people love right now is the Falcon LS35A. And that has that kind of intense following. I'm sure there's guys out there women out there that own many LS35As of various vintages and stuff. So if I have missed a brand that has that kind of passion, so I'm not just talking about mere popularity, I'm talking about real fanboy, hardcore, in there for the long haul kind of buyers and owners, tell me all about it in the comments section below. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, coming to you daily, as in 5 or 6 or 7 times a week right now in the summertime. And come back often. If you like it, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you really like what I'm doing here, consider my Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac. Thanks so much for watching.